Hello, everyone. Pastor Winston. Today we're looking at Matthew 7, verses 13 and 14. We're headed towards the end of the Sermon on the Mount. All the way along, Jesus has really painted a picture of contrasts between, treasures in heaven on earth, between private devotion and hypocrisy, and on, and given us this freedom to choose there. And that's the way he works. But now he's getting pretty serious. You can sort of tell by the tone of things. And he seems to be drawing a line in the sand and saying, look, I really want to be stern with you here, and I want you to hear and respond. So let's take a look at it and see what he's got for us here. And that I'll zip over here. Once again, I must decrease, and he must increase. We're going to look at the two gates. Enter by the narrow gate, for the gate is wide, and the way is easy that leads to destruction. And those who enter by it are many. For the gate is narrow, and the way is hard that leads to life. And those who find it are few. And what's really happening here is Jesus is pointing us out something that's really poignant here. He says, it was hard for me, so it's going to be hard for you in every way. On his July devotion on this very topic, also Chambers points something out that I want to share with you. I think you'll find it very interesting. He says, if we're going to live as disciples of Jesus, we have to remember that all efforts of worth and excellence are difficult. The Christian life is gloriously difficult, but its difficulty does not make us faint and cave in. It stirs us up to overcome. And then he asked this question. He said, do we really appreciate the miraculous salvation of Jesus Christ enough to be our utmost for his highest, our best for his glory? That's where, obviously they got the title, My Utmost for His Highest. But when I look at our best for his glory, I'm reminded of my mother. I remember I failed at something and, I struck out 4 times or something. I don't know what it was. And she said to me, well, when did you do your best? And I said, yeah. And she said, well, that's good enough. That'll be good enough. So we're gonna continue sort of meditating on this verse a little bit here as we go, and just sort of be mindful of the fact that it's a narrow gate and it's a rough road, and that's just the way it is. That is the way it is in this life. It's and don't get the wrong idea. This is not a doctrine of works. It's a doctrine based on a redemption in Jesus Christ, and a desire that foments within us to apply the gospel to every area of our life. It wasn't easy for Jesus. The Via Dolorosa was painful. But there's a personal price to follow him. It's walking away from a high-paying job because the company is corrupt. It's saying to your boss, this is not something I'm willing to do. It's not in my ethic. We heard Chad talk about that on Sunday. It's living with and caring for a spouse that has early Alzheimer's or cancer or something like that. It's having a baby when it's just not the right time. But above all, it's following Jesus and not looking around to see what others are doing. Why, don't you know that every day on the narrow road there's no easy choices? But you know what? What helps me is I realize that Jesus found joy in the sacrifice. He said, for the joy set before him, he endured the cross, despising the shame. And Paul's life was the same. He was always faced with being poured out like a drink offering. But he spoke about sharing in the suffering of Christ and the joy that would bring. So the gospel calls us to sacrifice. That same gospel also calls us to rejoice. And the promise is you're blessed when you're persecuted for righteousness' sake. You're blessed, Jesus says, when people revile you and say all kinds of evil things to you on my account. And the message says, for my people have always gotten into that kind of trouble. And so just to close out here, I want you to take a look here at What Martin Luther said about this, and this has been paraphrased by my dear friend Dale Bruner, and I just think it's so cool. Jesus' way is narrow and rough, but paradoxically, his way is also broader. Love your enemies. And it's easier. My yoke is easy than the world's way. Because of Jesus' company, and look, I'm with you all the days. And because it not only leads to real life, tain, zoein, the life, but it is itself in being the most exciting way to live real life itself. So don't be afraid. Let's step out. Let's put on that armor of God in the morning and step out knowing that He is with us all the way. God bless you, and just have an amazingly great week.